All right, guys. Man, these past few episodes have been crazy. I've been having these conversations, and you all know this. I'm a batcher. I love to just batch my interviews, and I'm going from back to back to these interviews, and we're having these ridiculously long conversations. And I keep wasting people's time, I feel like, because they just get me talking. But Craig and I got talking here. Super awesome guy. You've obviously heard the intro at this point, but we're very excited to kind of pick apart what Craig's doing. So I have a couple things I probably didn't mention in the intro that I want to throw in here. Number one, Craig has built a bootstrap company. Okay. It's a physical products business. And a lot of you are saying, oh, okay, I'm in the services space. Do not leave this episode. Okay. We're going to deep dive into his strategies, how he's been helping people in the relaxation space. No, we're not talking microdosing. No, we're not talking the M word I can't say or YouTube will ban me. And we're not going to say some of these other words that I'm not allowed to say. But we're talking vibration, right? An actual sound and feeling to actually help you relax. It's so intriguing. What actually sparked my attention, Craig doesn't even know this. Kind of somewhat mentioned this to him before, but my wife and I bought this alarm clock. What was it? 3-6 months ago. Hatch. Yeah. Absolutely incredible. So I really need to get an affiliate link for these guys because I promote them all the time, but it wakes you up with light instead of sound. And that kind of like sparked my journey going, because I've had the best sleep of my life with that waking up with light, because I wake up before my alarm goes off. I'm completely rested and just ready to take on the day. It's like a whole different thing. So it's kind of set me off on this crazy journey. So when Craig and his team reached out to me and said, hey, let's talk these relaxation techniques, I'm going, okay, this would be really interesting before going to bed. But also as an entrepreneur, we all know this. We are consistently stressed out and we're constantly trying to figure out how to do that work-life harmony, work-life balance, whatever you want to call it. So I'm excited to have Craig jump in here today and kind of guide us through it. So with that long-winded intro, Craig, super stoked to have you here, man.
It's a pleasure to be here, Josh. And we were chatting for a long time before we were like, we should just click record and get this thing going.
We probably just recorded that whole conversation. People are like, oh, wow, this is what Craig does. This is awesome.
Totally.
And I'm just going to shout this out. He didn't even ask me to do this, guys, but he has a really killer affiliate program for what he does. So go over them and tell him I sent you, because then he'll kick me a second tier.
There you go. Look down in the show notes. We're going to put links to everything down below.
Maybe that's what we'll do.
We'll have everything you need.
So to give people some background on this, Craig, just so people know, is the product that Craig sells and that he's the inventor of, it's actually it's furniture that helps meet vibrations for you so that you can relax. That's and right. So intriguing, because we were deep diving his website here. I'm going to pull it up. Most of you can't see this, but the different products you have, they almost look like chiropractic products, but they're for personal use. Yeah?
That's right. Yeah, it's all for the home or for a business or to use in clinic. If you're a massage therapist, body worker, acupuncture, acupressure, we got folks that do eyelashes, that do facials, estheticians use our tech, because you've got somebody laying down on a table anyway. Why not add Vibroacoustic Therapy, which is the formal body of research that governs what we do? It's a big word: vibration, acoustic, sound. We're really just talking about vibration and sound and its impact on our physical body, on our neurology, on our anatomy. And there's a body of research that goes back just over 40 years that talks about different frequencies and their impact on how they relax the body. And it's pretty magical as it does.
Yeah. I'm going to throw this out to those of you who have a team, like an office team. If you're like at that can afford benefit stage, things like this are actually really awesome. And we've done a couple things for our teams. We have this little dinky office we're in right now. There's only 5-6 of us, I think, who come into this specific office. And a lot of them are salaried employees. And we're like, we haven't provided like insurance benefits, but we've bought like a tonal, which is a fitness thing. Costs us like $120 a month. They're stoked because they basically have a gym in our dinky rundown office.
Tonal's awesome.
Tonals are fantastic, right? But we have a massage therapist come up once a month. She costs us like $300 for the day. Everybody gets like an hour-long massage. It's glorious. Those are benefits you can provide for virtually no money. So anyways, this is me getting my salesman hat on, but
look, we work with a number of business owners that use this as a benefit. It's funny. I did a talk for EO Alchemy. This is going back 5 years ago, but I stood in front of 500 CEOs and I said, we're talking about relaxation. How appropriate would it be for an executive in your company to, in the middle of the afternoon, close their door, turn off their lights, and take a nap behind their desk? Everybody started laughing. I think 2 hands went up. Okay, 2 hands went up.
Are you kidding? That's the dream.
Well, look, if you're exhausted from the night before and your 18-month-old kept you up all night, you're not going to be at your peak. If
Right.
you need a couple hours to rest, take a couple hours to rest. Now, you can also get on my tech for 22 minutes and drop into a theta brainwave state. And 22 minutes in theta is equivalent to about 6 hours of sleep. So there are shortcuts and hacks, and that's certainly what we do. But just the cultural norm of giving the body what it needs 5 years ago wasn't a thing. To your point, today, we have more and more employers that are looking for opportunities to draw their employees back to the office after the pandemic and being remote for so long. And a big chunk of our business is going towards employers that are converting unused offices into wellness spaces and spaces, that sort of thing. And we have corporate wellness program that we've put together that helps people to do just that, create a turnkey wellness room in a box, if you will.
Yeah, that's brilliant. You brought this point up. Are you an Andrew Huberman fan, by the way?
I love Andrew Huberman. Absolutely.
Okay. Some people are like super anti-Andrew. I freaking love what he talks about from a neuro perspective.
I'm a science geek. No, Andrew's awesome. Dr. Peter Attia is fantastic. Oh, yeah. Like, these are all people that I follow, and I'm sitting next to a sauna light. I've got an infrared sauna in my living room. I don't like cold therapy, and yet I do it all the time. Yeah. Absolutely.
Did you see that Limitless series with Chris Hemsworth and Peter Attia?
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant.
Peter on my, you guys will be hearing from him soon. I'm bringing him on because Dr. Attia, he's a killer.
Unbelievably talented. Look, the science and the data and the research that's coming out when it comes to optimal human performance, biohacking, whatever you want to group this into. Right. I like optimal human performance. It's really quite remarkable. Forget about decreasing the potential for all-cause mortality using heat and cold and doing all these things. But the science and the research that's coming out right now is really mind-boggling.
Well, and the part that's got me so intrigued, you even just mentioned, right? I'm sure this is a sales pitch for you, but it's so intriguing. As you talk about, in 22 minutes, you're basically getting 6 hours of sleep. They've been doing studies where it shows that I think it's around 2 or 3 p.m. No matter what time you're waking up, most people are having this crazy dip. And so what keeps happening, being an employer, this is highly annoying because the last 2 or 3 hours of the day, you're getting zero performance. It's like, well, why do we have an 8-hour workday? And so the employee is going, well, let's push for a 6-hour workday because I'll be more productive. And we're like, okay, that's cool for you. But from an employer perspective, it's like, we're still trying to accomplish goals. So what if we help you become more productive? And that's why I get so intrigued by things like what you guys have been putting together, Craig, because that's optimizing human performance.
So let's talk about that slump in the middle of the afternoon. Generally, it has to do with a decrease in cortisol. So cortisol gets a really bad rap. Andrew talks about cortisol getting a bad rap. And the reason it gets a bad rap is because everybody thinks it's the stress hormone, which it is. However, it's also responsible for maintaining our circadian rhythm. For literally, it's what gets us up and going in the morning. And that exposure to early morning sunlight within the first 3 hours of being awake, or using something that's going to trick your body into like a Juve light or something like that, that's going to begin the circadian rhythm and trigger that spike in cortisol. However, as we were talking about before, there's different aspects of your nervous system response, mainly a sympathetic nervous system response, which is associated with stress and anxiety. So if you're stressed and you're anxious, you're in that sympathetic nervous system response. It's also accompanied by a spike in cortisol. So now all of a sudden you have scenarios where people can be in a sympathetic nervous system response all day long, in this triggered, stressed and anxious nervous system response all day long. And their circadian rhythm gets completely knocked off kilter. And a lot of time that leads to a depletion in these hormones by 2 or 3 o'clock. If you're stressed from the time you wake up, by 2, 3 o'clock, you're exhausted from being stressed or anxious. And that obviously, when you have deadlines and you have a work environment and you have things you need to get done, that makes you reach for another cup of coffee, which 1 cup of coffee I'm okay with. I drink a cup every day. I put functional mushrooms in it. I do all of these different things. But when I find myself reaching for a second or a third cup of coffee throughout the day, because that's what I need to be a good dad and to push through, that's when I know things are off with my sleep schedule. Things are off with my nutritional uptake or something along those lines, that I need to look into something and go, hey, like yesterday and the day before, I was reaching for a second and a third cup of coffee, but I was exhausted from celebrating my wife's birthday for the weekend. A couple more 10-hour nights of sleep, and I know I'm back on schedule, which is where I'm at right now, and doing all the things to hack that circadian rhythm, of course, helps as well. But that spike in cortisol can wreak havoc on your nervous system and on your body functionality when it's day in and day out. And we can certainly dive into that a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, and this is something where I want to kind of throw something in here is like, let's say you're in the spiritualist category, right? You say, hey, I like meditation because of the connection benefits, right? It's me connecting with my body. It's, there's all the arguments for one direction. There's all the arguments for, the Christian perspective, maybe. I don't know if those are like the anti of each other, but maybe the Christian perspective, just saying
prayer is a form of meditation.
Exactly. Yep. And so they're saying, hey, like I'm praying for 22 minutes a day. I'm more on the Christian side of things, but what I can tell you is that for me, and for most people, like I always thought meditation was awful because all it was a moment for my brain to be like too active. I was like getting too active on business, and then I almost have a headache at the end of it until somebody actually showed me how to leverage that as a way to actually calm my mind and help myself. And I actively seek moments of that peace now instead of moments of work. Right.
So all right. So there's a great book called The Power of Full Engagement. Are you familiar with that book by any chance?
I am not. Powerful Engagement.
Power of Full Engagement. It basically talks about downtime being as important as uptime. And look, you hit the nail on the head. When you pray and you're in deep prayer, it's almost like a mantra meditation, right? You're saying the scripture, whatever your background might be. There's absolutely connectivity between meditation and prayer and being deep into it. I have a Jewish background. I think of the Jews that are davening against the Wailing Wall, right? I mean, they are in a trance. If you look at their brainwave activity, it's a theta brainwave. It's equivalent to that of being in a deeply meditative state.
Right.
Knowing what to do and putting too much pressure on yourself to do it is one of the biggest issues. So we obviously make a meditation cushion. We teach people how to meditate using sound and vibration. You pull up my homepage, it says, say goodbye to a distracted mind, say hello to a relaxed existence. The reason we say that, and it's a little bit of a misnomer, sound and vibration music is distracting your mind. So the instruction that I give people as they're starting on our meditation cushion, laying on a practitioner, laying on our sound lounge, the instruction I give somebody as I drop them in is lose yourself in the music. And our music has layers of complexity to it. It has the lower level frequencies that get the transducers going, which presents the body with the frequencies very specifically, sending messages to your muscles, telling them to relax, calming your nervous system, kicking off those chemical cascades. All of that is happening. And we also layer on top of it different sounds and music for you to hone in on and keen into, to be like, wait, what was that? Was that a baby crying? Was that a whale? Was that what was that? And all of a sudden at the end of 22 minutes, your mind is distracted into the music flow. Our last track that we just released had 60 different musical instruments and different music tracks included and condensed into it. 60 different sounds. So
it's not chaos, but it's like,
no, it sounds beautiful. It sounds wonderful. It doesn't sound, they're not all playing at one time. They come in, they come out.
Yeah.
Right. So it's this beautiful ballad, if you will, of sound and frequency that the mind all of a sudden picks up on. And again, that instruction of lose yourself in the music. Now, all of a sudden, you're not sitting against the wall, keeping quiet for 22 minutes. I'm like, hey, go over there and meditate. If you told me to do that 6 years ago, I would have laughed at you and laughed. And now I can't wait to get on my meditation cushion. It's the most important part of my day because at some point, like right about now, we're coming up on 2:00 here on the West Coast. After we get finished recording this, I'm going to go lay on my tech for 11 to 22 minutes. We'll see which ones I choose to do. We'll see what's going on with my wife and a quick check-in. But I'll take that time to reset the mind, body, and spirit, to connect with myself, to figure out what's important, to reprioritize, to clean the desk and restack papers and figure out what I need to focus on next. I'll look at my calendar like we talked about, but there's nothing on it for the rest of the day, which is super unusual. I'm pretty excited about that. But I use that time to kind of reorganize and to refocus my energy.
Yeah. Well, and I'm going to throw this out there as another use case too, because I've seen that. And thank you, by the way, for bringing up all this. This is highly, highly valuable information. I hope people will look at this and go, okay, this is actual scientifically backed stuff. Because most of you listening to this are going, okay, it's got to have some scientific backing or I ain't doing it, right?
So before you jump into that next topic, let me just round something out because it's something we talked about beforehand and it's super valuable. So getting triggered into a sympathetic nervous system response, which if you're stressed and anxious, you are in a sympathetic nervous system response. It's a really important delineation because a lot of us walk around stressed and anxious and we think we're pushing through it, especially as an entrepreneur. A lot of things happening in business. We're like, no, I'm good. Unfortunately, when you're in a sympathetic nervous system response, which again is involuntary, it's designed to save your life. It's designed to kick you out of parasympathetic, calm and relaxed, into sympathetic, stressed and anxious, or fight or flight. And a few key things happen, 5 key things happen that I want to really mention. The first is cortisol and adrenaline flow through your blood. The cortisol makes you hyper present and hyper focused on whatever is in front of you, mainly whatever you need to do to save your life. The adrenaline obviously it increases your heart rate and it sends blood to every major muscle group in the body so that you have power and strength to fight or run. And this is really, really important. The cortisol and the adrenaline flowing through your blood does 4 things that incapacitate you to handle the day-to-day. The first, it turns off rational thinking. So you're making decisions, but you're not being rational. You're actually being irrational. Because again, I just have to save my life and then I need to move on. The second thing that it does is it turns off digestion. So now it doesn't matter how clean or organic your food is, you're not digesting it. Your body literally says, I don't need to digest food. I need to save myself. All energy, all hands on deck to do so. Turns off your immune system. So now you're not fighting off viruses and bacteria. You're literally focused on saving your life. And it turns off your reproductive organs. I don't need to reproduce right now. Right now, all of a sudden, when you start to think about what it means to be in fight or flight, what it means to be in a sympathetic nervous system response, and there's more things that happen, by the way, these are the big things. Now, all of a sudden, you realize immune system's turned off, rational thinking's turned off, digestion's turned off, reproduction is turned off. How many people are having issues with these things and not being able to figure it out? I have friends that have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on IVF, only to realize that when they're stressed and anxious, their reproductive organs are turned off by default. I have folks and friends, my business partner is one of them, who has unreal digestive issues. And yet we walk around stressed and anxious. So the key to what I'm talking about is never more important. The correlation between being in fight or flight and being stressed and anxious to these kind of normal functionality. Your body can't heal when it's in a sympathetic nervous system response. That healing act that we talk about, it's really, you're talking about detoxification, you're talking about digestion, you're talking about autophagy, killing off cells that have had their time, right? Or are you holding on to cells too long? Your body is 75 trillion cells, something like that. They're constantly dying and rebuilding themselves, dying and rebuilding themselves. If they're not dying and rebuilding themselves, then you're missing out on a pretty important part of healthy living. And those processes aren't happening as they normally happen when you're in a sympathetic nervous system response. This is so foundational. For me, this was a big light bulb. When I started to see this correlation of data, I was like, there are points in time in my life where I know I'm walking around in a sympathetic nervous system response, stressed and anxious from the time I wake up until the time I go to bed, day after day after day. And so many Americans, so many folks that are listening right now are probably in that state. Finding something that you can do to trigger you back into a parasympathetic or calm and relaxed state. You can go outside and get some fresh air. You can earth and ground. You can hug a tree. You can do breath work. There's lots of free options that you can do. And then I also have a saying, and that is technology got us into this mess. Technology can get us out. I wear the Apple Watch. I wear the AirPods. I've got 1, 2, 3 screens in front of me, 4, including the iPhone. I embrace technology and all of its convenience. And at the same time, you got to make sure you're doing what you can to calm and relax the nervous system and take you into that relaxed state. Really important. Yeah. And I appreciate you letting me digress on that for a second.
Oh, you bet. No, and I was pulling this up because I'm trying to find this study because I had a question on this. what's interesting, there was a study released that people who are getting so far into meditation, that's like where they're spending hours and hours and hours, are in the US, for example. This is not like the Shaolin monks, for example. This is somebody who's trying to do this in between a busy work life. In a lot of cases, they're actually becoming highly reactive. This is me kind of like speaking against the relaxation side. Is like, is there a point that you feel where it's like, okay, you've done enough for a day and you're almost over meditating during the day so that you're unable to like react to things? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So look, it's going to be different for all of us. And I don't believe this dovetails into another belief that I have. I don't believe there's any such thing as a bad frequency. That said, I get asked this question a lot, like, hey, what's the best frequency for me to listen to? And I'm like, there is no one frequency for everyone. Instead, we're constantly coming in and out of harmonic resonance with the things around us. So for you, wherever you might be, like when I first got access to my technology 6+ years ago, I was on my Sound Lounge 3 times a day. Morning, noon, and night, I was on it. I felt like I needed it. I was called to it. Now I'm on it once a day, sometimes every other day. But generally speaking, at least once a day, I'm getting on the meditation cushion or my Sound Lounge. I'm fortunate enough to have all 3 of them in my living room. I get body work on my practitioner twice a month. I'm not complaining in any way, shape, or form, but I have access to the technology. The more often you use it, the longer you've been using it, the less often you need it. And to that point, everybody's a little different. Our meditation cushion goes out to 2 main audiences. The first is folks like me that have been trying to meditate and can't, and are looking to meditate, and they want to use sound and vibration to distract their mind. When you're in that state, to your question, you might be doing it 3 times a day. You might be on it. Now, you're going to be more efficient because the second audience that we serve with our meditation cushion is somebody who's been meditating for 20 years, 20 minutes a day, and they get on our tech because they like the form factor, they like the ergonomics, they want to try something different. And instantaneously, they are taken to that depth of that meditative state. And now all of a sudden, so if you've been in a float tank, I like to float, the Sound Lounge has been called the last 10 minutes of your float, right? Takes you on a 60 or 90 minute float, takes you some time to wind down the body to get it to a place where you can drift into that alpha or theta brainwave state. Sound Lounge takes you there right away. So now, to your point, to that person that's meditating for hours throughout the day because they feel as though they need it, a lot of times our technology can expedite the process, get you to go deeper, faster, and therefore be more efficient with that time. The other thing that I really like about our music, in our app, you'll find tracks that range from 2 minutes to 2 hours. We're going to be coming out with longer tracks, but most of our meditations are 11 minutes, 22 minutes, 33 minutes, or 66 minutes. And now all of a sudden, I have a plan and I have a timer that's running. I don't have to sit there and check my watch or check or be like, how long am I here? What's going on? No, the track is going to end at 22 minutes and it's not designed to keep going. It's actually designed to end at the end of the track by design. So now all of a sudden I can sit and just know that regardless of how deep in this meditation, because when you're in an alpha or theta brainwave state, you have no sense of time. So you could sit down to meditate and wake up 3 hours later and be like, what's going on? You missed half your afternoon, you missed appointments, whatever. When you're sitting down listening to one of our tracks on our cushion or just listening to it with a set of headphones in your office chair, you know it's got a set time period, you know it's 22 minutes. That lets me relax even more. Now all of a sudden I can drop and fall off knowing that the music's going to end and take me back at the end of 22 minutes. So there's a lot of different aspects that go into helping and supporting you with your meditative practice with our tech.
Yeah, and it's freaking brilliant, guys. So, I mean, Craig, I could talk to you all day, man. This is, as we've already discussed, this is just mind-blowing stuff to me. Guys, if you're saying, hey, I'm struggling with this stuff, we're not sponsoring these guys, or they're not sponsoring us or anything, but he gave you guys a 5% off code. Just as a disclaimer, this is an affiliate link. So if you go to iaminharmony.com/Titan, I'm going to push them to get that link. Is that okay?
I think I can. I have a problem with my Shopify website and it sticks the word pages in there. So it's going to be iaminharmony.com/pages/Titan. And
that's okay. Don't worry. We won't edit this out. So you guys, this is the beauty of listening to our show. A couple of things here too. I want to throw one quick sticky note on here because I have just 2 little final questions for you, Craig, but I want to throw a sticky note on here to the audience. Did you listen to how Craig explained how he serves his audiences. And he's like, hey, there's two different audiences that we serve. Interestingly enough, guys, from a marketing perspective, he didn't say, okay, we serve CEOs who make $1 million and can afford our cushion, right? Right. That wasn't what he was covering. A lot of you are struggling like with client identification. He figured out what the problem was and showed the use case for how his product solved that problem. Just sticky note on there for everybody. That was brilliantly done, by the way, Craig. So, so Craig, just to kind of wrap this up though. So once again, can you repeat that link for us? Cause I'm going to botch.
I am inharmony.com/pages/Titan. And we'll link it in the show notes, regardless of where you're listening to this. I'm sure there will be a link in the show notes.
Oh yeah. We'll throw it everywhere for you guys. But Craig, I want to ask you this, because for somebody who doesn't currently have any of your products and is saying, what's one thing I can do today to actively, I would say almost like find that inner peace through relaxation? How would you recommend, like what's one action they could take in 5 to 10 minutes today to help?
Yeah. So look, regardless of my technology, regardless of, right, because we're talking about right now, you're listening to this podcast and you're like, man, that is me. I am triggered in a sympathetic nervous system response. First and foremost, come back to the breath. Your breath controls the mind controls the body. So if your body is in a sympathetic nervous system response, your mind can control it, but it's going to be very difficult to think your way to control it, interestingly enough. But instead, come back to the breath. Just a simple box breathing technique is all it takes. And that is a 4 count in, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. And that technique, doing that for 1 minute, is actually scientifically proven to reset the nervous system from sympathetic to parasympathetic. Really remarkable. So we always carry our breath with us. We're always breathing shallow. At least I am. And coming back to that breath. Now you want to take it a step further. Now you can go to the link that's in the show notes and you can download our app. I'm giving you 90 days free. Okay. Just for listening and being in the audience here, 90 days free on our app. You can download it. You got to jump through some hoops. Give me your email address, that sort of thing. But once you do that, I send you a coupon code for 90 days free. Now, all of a sudden, you can couple box breathing while you're listening to an 11-minute music meditation, which is what we call our tracks. And now, all of a sudden, you can search by duration. You can sort the home screen. You can find tracks for anxiety, for grief, for addiction, for abundance. The most recent one that we just released called Inspiration. You'll find it right at the top. Depending on when you're listening to this, you'll find Inspiration. Inspiration is 25 minutes of pure bliss. It is the most inspiring music track. It's a ballad that lifts you up. I haven't even been able to listen to the whole thing yet. Like I listened to the first 6 minutes of it and I listened to the demo tracks. Anthony Weiss creates our content. He's incredibly talented sound healer and music therapist. And literally 6 minutes into it, I was practically bawling in joy of all of the amazing things that I'm doing. Like I was so inspired. I had to get up off my sound lounge and get up off the experience. And we're getting some great feedback from our audience as well.
Oh, that's amazing. So guys, I hope you go check out these, go get these free offers. It's amazing. And Craig, I appreciate you coming and doing that. Because a lot of times people come onto podcasts and they like, my free value is you listening to this show, but truthfully, like go and experience what these guys have. I know I will. I'm going to go check all this stuff out because again, this is a way for you to actually be able to help you and your people that you work with be more optimally, to perform more optimally is really what I would say. Yeah. I've just been seeing this over and over again, even with our team. I listened to an Andrew Huberman talk months ago, and during our weekly call with everybody, I was like, hey, everybody kind of made a joke of it. It's a little 10-minute video, but it was like all about, if you are not performing well, go take a 20-minute nap, right? In our office, we have a couch they can go lay on. It's very comfortable. They can go take a 20-minute nap. And like that has been a huge performance.
We talked about this at the beginning of the show.
Right. Exactly. It makes a huge difference. And I'm looking at this going, if we could throw one or two of your beds in here, right? People could like go lay on those. It'd be awesome. So
100%
perk to add into our benefit stack. So again, guys, make sure you go check that all out. And Craig, just to kind of wrap this up with a bow, can you give our audience just one more tactic that they can go use today? You gave us great breathing techniques. You gave us access to the app. What's one little other tactic they can go use today to get a win?
Look, I think the most important aspect is the awareness of checking in with yourself and giving yourself that moment to be like, how am I feeling right now? Am I breathing shallow or am I breathing deeply? Do I feel relaxed? Do I feel triggered or stressed? And then doing something about it, right? I think just that awareness of how you're feeling and that check-in is something that might go blind to us over the course of the entire day until you actually sit down and go, oh, wait a minute, I do need a nap. I do need food. I'm sitting at my desk also. It's 2:10 in the afternoon right now as we record this here in Las Vegas. I've been sitting in front of my desk since 8:30 this morning. I don't think I've gotten up to walk around. I don't think the stand up app on my watch is definitely not working. Like, I don't think I've left this room in 6 hours, 5.5 hours, something like that. So I'm going to practice what I preach, and I'm going to check in with myself and go, hey, I need to go outside and get some fresh air. I need to get these bare feet on the grass. I need to get some sunshine on my skin. And, I think oftentimes we sacrifice ourselves for those around us, whether that's work and a position and a career that we love, a significant other, a child, whatever that might be. We sacrifice our own well-being. And my wife and I these days, we're putting our own mask on first. We're making sure that we make time to get to the gym, to work out, to exercise, to stretch, to do some self-care on the technologies that we are privileged to have access to. And I think that that's also a really important giveaway, that most people want to take care of everybody else first. And yet we've all been on a plane. They all tell you, put your mask on first. Your cup has to be overflowing before you can help others to fill their own cup. And as coaches, we often forget that. We're building a business. We're head down. We're driven. I'm giving you permission to take care of yourself first, to go to the gym in the morning at 9 a.m. when you're like, wait a minute, I should be in the driver's seat. And it's like, go to the gym and take care of yourself for an hour in the morning. My business partner does. I'll be honest, and Dom, you might hear this. Dom, he literally goes to see a trainer 3 times a week at like 10 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, Dom, this is go time. And now I'm like, no, go take care of yourself, man. I'm proud of you. And I'm happy to create the space for you to go do that so that you can take care of yourself and your body. Otherwise, it doesn't get done. You leave it until the end of the day and it's the last thing. You don't have the energy and it's just not happening. So really important. Your cup has to be overflowing before you can help somebody else fill theirs.